Okay, folks, we're in open session here now, and I'd like to welcome you to the weekly meeting of the ERA Committee. We are quorate, aren't we? Yeah, we have a quorum. And if you have any problems with Starleaf, let us know. Folks, keep yourselves on mute until it's time to speak, because all background noise can be picked up. It'll be recorded, broadcast around Parliament buildings and online. And keep your mobile devices muted and your Starleaf, your computers muted until it's time to speak. If you want to indicate you want to speak, use the WhatsApp facility here I have on the phone, and keep an eye on it here. Okay. So the first item is number one. First item, I don't have any apologies. Chairperson's business. I want to advise members that we approach summer recess. Standard practice for committees to delegate authority to the chairperson and deputy chairperson during periods of recess to submit views on the reasoning or withholding of information and any non-routine contentious FOA requests received. In previous mandates, at the final meeting of each session, the committee agreed to this delegation of authority, and the committee would be advised of any such requests, the views expressed by the chairperson and or deputy chairperson, and the response issued by the FOA unit the first available meeting following the recess period. So, members, okay with that practice? Continue. Okay, members, the draft minutes then, item number 3, is the from the meeting on the 20th of June and the 1st of July, page 6. Can I seek agreement for the minutes? Okay, I think that's okay. There's no matters arising. Item number 5 is a written briefing, the waste fees and charges amendment regulations NI 2021. The written briefing is at page 23. I want to advise members that the regulations were last considered by the committee at the meeting on the 24th of June, and it was agreed that the policy should move to the next stage, legislative stage. The regulations are subject to negative resolution and will come into force on the 1st of August. The examiner statutory rules have not drawn any attention to the rule. So, members are content. I'll put the question. The Committee for Agriculture, Environment and Rural Affairs is considered SR 2122 182, the Waste Fees and Charges Amendment Regulations NA 2021, and there's no objection to the rule. Okay, members. Item number 6 on the agenda is the Agricultural Commodities Coronavirus Income Support Scheme number 2 NA 2021. The written briefing is at page 31 of your packs. I want to advise members that the regulations were last considered by the committee on the 24th of June, when it was agreed that the policy should move to the next legislative stage. The examiner statutory rules has not yet reported on the regulations. Therefore, committee consideration has been deferred until September, but this will have no impact on the department's ability to issue any payments. Okay, item number 7, a written briefing on the Agriculture 2017 Northwest Flooding Income Support Scheme, NA 2021. It's on page 43. The briefing's on page 43, your packs. The regulations were last considered by the committee at the 24th of June, and it was agreed that the policy should move to the next legislative stage. The examiner statutory rules has not yet reported on the regulations. Therefore, committee consideration has been deferred until September, but this will not have any impact on the department's ability to issue the compensation. Okay, members, we'll just move on here to item number 8. It's a written briefing, SR 2021-196, the Agricultural Student Fees Amendment number 2, Regulations NA 2021. It's at page 56 of your packs. The regulations were last considered by the committee on the 1st of July. It was agreed that the policy should move to the next legislative stage. The regulations are subject to negative resolution and will come into operation on the 2nd of August. The examiner statutory rules has not drawn any issues or any attention to the rules. So, members, I suppose at the last meeting I did highlight some concerns about the impact this may have for future students from across the EU accessing Calvary College here. And also, I do note as well I was going through some of my notes here, that there is an issue to do with the differential. In terms of rural impact assessment, there's a differential impact has been identified between rural and urban areas. And I wonder if it would be possible maybe to write to the department to find out elaborate on that there. What is the differential impact between rural and urban areas? And it's important to, I just want those concerns noted, which I raised previously around the potential impact this could have, potential barrier could have for future students from across the EU, and also just to tease that there out. Okay, so members, we're going to put the question here, albeit with those concerns which have been highlighted, that the Committee of Agriculture, Environment and Rural Affairs considered SR 2021-196, Agriculture Student Fees Amendment, Number 2 Regulations NA 2021, and there's no objection to the rule. Okay. Okay. Member number 9 is written briefing, statutory instrument, the Common Organisation of the Markets and Agricultural Products Transitional Arrangements Amendment Regulations 2021. The briefing paper from the Department is page 69, that this SI is a fully reserved matter and is only for information because it's fully reserved in Westminster, and the Department has been advised the Minister doesn't agree with this SI. Could I ask members, have they got any issues that they want to raise or anything that they want to?
Yeah,
Yes,
can I?
Yes, Rosemary. Absolutely.
Speaking.
Yeah.
Can I ask?
Yes, Rosemary. Yes, go, Rosemary. Yes.
Excuse me, my ignorance, but is this SI to do with the derogations? Does that mean any clauses and referrals to different parts in it? Is this to do with the derogations, for example, the derogation in relation to maybe dogs being fit to come from Great Britain into Northern Ireland without having rabies injections until October? Is that what that SI is to do with, those type of derogations?
Did I ref anything in that there?
The child meats derogation, you understand? Is
That's
that
to do with the
that,
extension of the grace period, isn't it?
that's what I'm asking.
So, Chair and Rosemary, yes, the specific components of this statutory instrument are outlined on page 72. So, it's for a specific range of products. So, it's to do with transitional arrangements for the trade of organic products, hops, wine, fruit, and vegetables. And that is the limit of the statutory and this particular statutory instrument.
And in what relation is it in relation to derogation for them to come into?
So, Rosemary, I understand this statutory instrument is not specifically protocol related in the sense that it is to do with the transition from EU law into UK law, and these provisions are specifically around the trade of those specific commodities. But I don't believe it pertains to the derogations of the chilled meats, for example, that was discussed and agreed last week. It's specifically around organic products, hops, wine, and some fruit and vegetable items.
Okay, right.
Okay, Rosemary.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay, members. If you, sorry, Patsy, go ahead.
Chair, I just a wee query around this, and there's nothing we can do about it. It's a Westminster issue,
Yeah.
but if I could find out just all we've got is the Minister disagrees with it. It might be helpful just by way of information we find out what the Minister disagrees with or on what basis. That might shed some light indeed to Rosemary's question as well.
Yeah. Okay, can we make representations of the
Certainly.
Department on that?
Certainly, yeah.
Thanks for that suggestion, Patsy.
Chair.
Yeah,
Just a general thing. I mean, I noted the same thing as Pat. No, I think it's useful in future. If we're getting something like the department disagrees with it, that they actually give us the reason and rationale why they disagree with it. I think that would be helpful in all cases.
yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. Those suggestions. Okay, item 10 is a written briefing, the sea fishing industry challenges. Memo from the clerk at page 75, which provides an update on the support provided by the Department to the sea fishing industry over the past 18 months and the ongoing issue that they are experiencing. Nick, do you want to update us on that?
Thank you, Chair. So members, just to draw your attention to the memo at page 75 in the pack, been asked to provide a brief update on the challenges facing the sea fish industry, and wanted to bring that information to members before the summer recess. So engaged with colleagues at the department and also with representatives at the Anglo-North Irish Fish Producers Organisation and the Northern Ireland Fish Producers Organisation to give a current assessment of the issues facing the industry. So I think it's fair to say that the sea fish industry, I suppose like all sectors, was profoundly affected by COVID-19, given in particular the lockdown of tourism and hospitality sectors across Europe, as well as the general limits on unnecessary travel. That's obviously had a dramatic effect on the demand for fish products, and consequently the market price for fish products fell dramatically over 2020. Now, in terms of support that has been provided to the sea fish industry over the past 18 months, there have been a range of schemes provided by both local and national government, totalling just under £4 million to local sea fish vessels. And that encompassed both income support and also support for their fixed costs. However, in discussion with representatives from the sea fish sector, they highlighted a number of challenges which are ongoing. In particular, market prices for fish products, which, as I said, suffered dramatically in 2020 due to a downturn in demand. And while obviously in the last few weeks there has been an easement of restrictions, that has helped to stabilise prices. They are nevertheless still markedly lower than pre-COVID-19 levels. For example, we were advised that the average price of a kilogram of hake and plaice, for example, is around 20% lower in 2021 than it was in 2019. And shellfish prices have also been affected. And it was provided with information to illustrate that, to suggest that a kilogram of langoustines in 2019, the market price for those was about £6, and in 2020 that had fallen to £2.50. So that demonstrates the market challenges that sea fisher are facing. Associated with that then is that there's anticipated to be a long uptake in price recovery, and that's due to the phased reintroduction of hospitality services across these islands, and also the different time frames for easement in export markets across Europe. Obviously, with the uncertainty and reduced level of tourism and travel, there's obviously going to be a slower demand and uptake in people eating fish products in restaurants, which is the driver for market prices. Similarly, representatives also state that they are aware that there has been potentially large stockpiling of fish products and held in a frozen state while prices have been low, and therefore they anticipate that it will take many months for the price of fish products to recover to pre-COVID-19 levels. There have also been, the sector also faces challenges in operating costs due to an increase in the cost of fuel, and also is dealing with some operational and productivity challenges associated with Brexit. For example, vessels registered in Northern Ireland no longer have unfettered access to inshore waters in the Republic of Ireland and need a permit to have this. There have been reports that fishermen have experienced delays in getting those permits, and also due to the outworkings of Brexit, can only land within 7 specific ports in the Republic of Ireland, which leads to longer journey times and additional costs. So in summary, representatives from the local sea fishing industry are continuing to engage in discussions with DAERA about the need for continued short to medium term compensatory support for the sector in order to stabilise the industry, given the anticipated long recovery time for market prices. And then at a wider, more strategic level, they're also keen to see the progression of a delivery plan to support the strategic vision as set out in the Northern Ireland Fishing and Seafood Development Programme report, which was published in April of this year, to ensure that the local sector has an infrastructure that is fit for the 21st century and can support economic growth in coastal communities. So in short, I suppose that's a very brief headline summary of the challenges reported to the committee that are impacting the sector and what the sector is hoping to secure in terms of short and long-term support.
Thank you, Nick. Patsy, you indicated that you wanted to speak. Was it in relation to this here, or was it the previous matter?
No, Chair, that was the previous matter.
Yeah, sorry, I was just checking
You're right.
the list here.
You're grand, thank you.
Yeah, John Blair.
You, Chair, I'm muted. No, I'm not muted.
No, we've got you,
thank
John,
you,
yeah.
Chair. On the sea fishing industry and the current situation, do you want to say something? I think there are two issues here. First of all, the immediate challenges in relation to the market and all of the other issues listed, but secondly also the plan to develop to be fit for the future. So in regards to both of those, can I ask that if we're planning to meet sea fishing industry representatives anytime soon to discuss either or both of those issues? And secondly, could we perhaps go back to them as responses to the discussion today to let them know we've had this discussion and we're willing to engage and we're willing to hear more of the plans?
Yeah, I think no one would disagree with that. There, be okay. We can tempt that one. Yeah. Harry.
Thank you, Chair. Just a few comments. I mean, I think really the fishing industry's had a terrible time at the minute, and really with COVID and with Brexit before all this, they really were needing a lot of work done. I've done a few visits myself, and we're really looking to invest in our fishing industry before all the problems, so you can guess how it is now. It is great that they're having discussions both short term, which is very important, and long term, because to rebuild this industry is really going to take a lot of investment and a lot of thought. So, yep, appreciate all the help that's being given to them, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Harry. Okay, members. So, can I seek agreement? Claire. Oh, Claire, did you indicate you want to come in there? Claire, sorry.
Yeah, they're all right, Chair. Thanks. Apologies for not being here at the start. But listen, fully support the work done there by the sea fishing industry as well and putting their case forward. And glad to see that there is good engagement. And like Harry, I have done a visit myself as well and engaged with the sector. So there are just nothing against what's being done, but is there any way we can find out from the Minister or the Department whether a similar level of analysis is being done with other sectors under the remit in terms of the ongoing impacts due to COVID on their business? And maybe ask the Minister as well if we could get an update on the harbour redevelopment, particularly in Kilkeel. I think that has been earmarked for redevelopment, but as yet still no work being done, which is absolutely key to giving them a sustainable future. So that's the two things. Are other sectors engaging the same, getting the same attention from the Minister, impacted in the same way and being managed in terms of going forward, just like the sea fishing industry, and an update on the Kilkeel Harbour redevelopment?
Okay. Okay, members. So, okay, can I seek agreement then? It'll be right to the department then for an update on the provision of any additional compensation for the sector due to ongoing market price deflation, and to confirm what plans DAERA has in place to deliver the strategic vision for the fishing industry locally, and that includes the issue that Claire just raised around harbour development and other sectors as well. And also what John was suggesting about communicating back to the fishing industry that we've been taking on board what they're saying and we're part of this ongoing engagement. Okay. Okay, members. Okay. 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 Okay, we're going to move on now to item number 11. It's the update on the common frameworks. The memo from the clerk is at page 79, which provides an update on the progress of two frameworks and the anticipated next steps in order to implement the common frameworks in full by the end of 2021. I want to refer members to the table correspondence from the department, which contains a high-level timeline of the anticipated introduction of the 15 common frameworks that fall within the ERA's remit. Nick, do you want to brief the committee?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I just wanted to, before we break up for the summer recess, just give an update on the progression of common frameworks and what may be forthcoming in the autumn time with regards to the passage of the common framework. So I've put together a very short written brief on page 79 of the pack. And I appreciate that there was a lot of discussion earlier, maybe late last year and earlier this year, about the progress of some of the common frameworks. So at present, there are 15 common frameworks in progress which relate to the policy areas under DERA's remit. And in terms of the 5-step delivery plan that has been developed by the UK government to implement the common frameworks, that is set out at the bottom of page 1 and page 2 of the briefing. So phase 1 is obviously establishment of the principles and proof of concept of the common framework. Phase 2 moves into more detailed work on policy development. Phase 3 is a review and consultation process whereby the UK government liaises with technical stakeholders and industry experts for in-depth review and assessment to develop a provisional framework. And that really leads us to phase 4, which is where ostensibly we are at present with the 15 frameworks that are relevant to the work of the committee. So the principle under phase 4 is that after the provisional frameworks have been signed off by each of the 4 legislatures within the UK, they will be passed to each of those legislatures for some form of scrutiny and review. It is expected that legislators will have 21 days to consider each provisional framework. However, I have been advised that the timeframes around that are flexible and are up to the discretion of each administration and the committee, depending on the complexity of the provisional framework and any other workloads that may be happening at the time. And then I think an important element to note is, in terms of phase 5, is post-implementation of the initial framework. All common frameworks will be subject to regular review at different cycles, so there will be an opportunity to revisit those in the years ahead. In terms of the 2 specific frameworks that we've recently been notified of by the department, we received high-level summaries in regards to the air quality framework, and really this provides a very high-level scope of what will be contained in the provisional framework. So it outlines that the framework will respect devolution settlements and establish constitutional conventions across administrations. There will be overseen via a concordat between the 4 administrations, sitting alongside any relevant primary and secondary legislation. And the proposed scope of the air quality common framework is in regard to reporting on air quality across a range of metrics. Also will cover industrial emissions policy development, compliance with national and international air quality targets, and air quality monitoring and modelling. The summary also outlines that the Concordat will cover issues such as governance and decision making and specific roles and responsibilities and how the administrations will work together. I appreciate that is very high level, but that is the extent of the detail that has been provided to the committee in relation to the air quality framework. The second summary that the committee received is in regards of the agricultural support common framework, which essentially replaces the policy areas that were previously managed under the EU Common Agricultural Policy and the associated regulations. So the agricultural support framework provides a non-legislative basis for collaboration, coordination and a common approach on agricultural support. It also establishes an agriculture marketing monitoring group that will provide technical information on market developments and coordinate views on the impact of affected markets. It also has established an agricultural policy collaboration group that will share good practice, policy innovation and developments in relation to agricultural support schemes, marketing standards, marketing disturbance and crises across the jurisdictions. And the proposed scope of the agricultural support framework is outlined at the bottom of page 4. So it's intended to cover agricultural spending, marketing standards, crisis measures, cross-border holdings within the UK, and data collection and sharing. So I suppose though that's a very high-level summary of the summaries that we have received in those two specific frameworks. In terms of work that is actively ongoing at this time, the Common Framework Scrutiny Committee at the House of Lords is currently engaged in a piece of work to scrutinise the proposals for the Common Frameworks coming from the United Kingdom Government. And the committee team has written to the House of Lords Committee requesting that it be updated on any salient developments or key progress as that work progresses, and that request has been supported. The Cabinet Office is also currently undertaking a mapping exercise across all common frameworks to identify which aspects of EU legislation are likely to amend the protocol and if there would be any potential divergence or impact on common frameworks. We've also requested to be updated on any information or results of that piece of work, and the Cabinet Office has agreed to that. In terms of where we are locally with the progression of the 15 frameworks which are outlined on page 6 that are relevant to DAERA, essentially all of those frameworks are currently sitting with the Executive Office awaiting First Minister and Deputy First Minister approval. Following the granting of that, all of those provisional frameworks will then be referred to the committee and the Assembly for that period of scrutiny, and the committee will be expected to look at those, review those as part of its scrutiny process. We've received notification from the department that it is likely that we will receive the 15 frameworks at some period of time in October, at which point then there will be an expectation of turnaround by the end of November is the requested date, but as for our opinion and review of those common frameworks. But as I say, I am advised that there is some latitude and flexibility with regard to those time frames. So at the bottom of the memo, a suggested action in relation to the common frameworks is to consider, members may wish to consider writing to both DAERA and the Executive Office seeking an update on when they expect those provisional frameworks to be approved by the Executive Office, and also to perhaps consider having those provisional frameworks sent to the committee in advance of them being given TO approval, so that we could get a head start on review and scrutiny of those. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Nick. Nick, see just on that point you made there about sitting with the Executive. I just want to correct to DAERA for clarity, because do you see at the Executive Office committee on the 26th of the TO committee on the 26th of May, the then Minister Gordon Lyons indicated that, and I just took a wee note of the Hansard of this here, that we need further clarity on a few issues within the Department of Agriculture, Environment, Rural Affairs. There's been a bit of back and forth within the department on that. I hope that update with you soon. So I just got certainly the impression from that it was a case that it wasn't being held up at TEO level, but that there was a bit of to and fro and maybe holding up within DAERA. Because could that just be teased out with them, Nick?
Certainly, Chair, and just so I'm clear as well, I believe at the TEO meeting last week there was a discussion about where things were progressing within DAERA, and I understand that they were perhaps awaiting confirmation and clarity on some legal advice pertaining to some of the common frameworks that would then, on receipt of that advice, TEO would be considered in a position to refer the provisional frameworks on, but certainly we can write to the department to that effect.
Okay, Claire? Claire?
Thanks, Chair. I'm just wondering, like at the start of that, they said that there was going to be engagement under the remit, so engagement with technical stakeholders. Do we know what's meant by technical? Who are the stakeholders going to be? Do we know?
Claire, I don't have a list of the stakeholders specifically. My interpretation of that was it was across all the common frameworks like industry experts, but I could certainly seek to identify specifically which stakeholders have been engaged with by the Cabinet Office in the development of the DAERA frameworks, if it would be helpful.
Yeah, that's grand, because I just know that the framework's going to be really vital to environmental regulations here. So I just, anything that falls outside the narrow scope of the protocol be covered by a common framework, basically. So I just feel it's really important that stakeholders in the environmental sector are engaged with. So I just don't know what's meant by, what's the difference between a stakeholder and a technical stakeholder.
Okay, thank you, Claire. Philip?
Just following on from the point Claire was making, I think it is important. Obviously at the minute we're just discussing high level issues, but certainly particularly with regard to the air quality framework, it does make sense. Even not politically environmentally rather than politically, it may make sense that we have the protocol even adopt EU type legislation, because on this island it makes much more sense. So I think all of those points need to be taken into account.
Okay, thank you, Philip. Okay, members, then can I seek agreement to write to the executive and indeed to DAERA to seek an update position on the timescales for confirmation of the relevant frameworks and subsequent referral to the Assembly, and to request foresight of the provisional frameworks that are awaiting approval? Okay, members, I want to advise you now that we are moving to closed session, and I'm just going to hit the red button here. Okay, members, item 13 on the agenda is the departmental written briefing, the NAEA draft plan 21-22. We just haven't got the papers yet. Item 14 is correspondence, page 90. I want to draw members' attention to the following. Correspondence from Enerchem Solutions, page 2004, providing information on a proposed pilot scheme for the development of a plant that will be equipped with technology to utilise excess farm waste and convert this into usable energy for vehicles and the gas grid. The initiative is a joint public-private sector venture. Given the commercial sensitivities, the correspondence has been marked restricted. It's not for sharing outside the committee. Are we okay to write to the department in support of this proposal? Okay. Members, correspondence to the Speaker, which has been tabled, advising that a public petition entitled Animal Cruelty Register was laid in the Assembly on the 20th of June by Dolores Kelly, MLA. Speaker has written to the Minister informing that the public petition has been presented on this matter. A memo from the Clerk, which has been tabled on an issue raised by a member of the public in relation to the Farm Nutrient Management Scheme. Following liaison with the Department, it has now been confirmed that following extensive investigation into the issues raised, no information or evidence has come to light to substantiate the concerns or allegations made by a member of the public, and no further action is required. Table correspondence from the Committee from the Economy on its committee stage of the Parental Bereavement Leave and Pay Bill, which commenced on the 15th of June, and is requesting views or comments on the bill. I will ask members to forward any comments which they wish to the Clerk by the close of play on the 9th of July. Are members okay if we action the rest of the correspondence as suggested in the index page, page 88?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, forward work programme. For the autumn session commencing in September will be developed over the recess period and brought back to the committee's consideration at the first meeting on the 9th of September. I want to remind members that the virtual visit by the Dairy Council, which is taking place today at 1:30 p.m. Both myself and Rosemary have indicated that we will be attending, and virtual invitations have been issued by the Clerk. Members, any other business they want to raise? We will be going into closed session after this. Okay. The next meeting will take place on Thursday, the 9th of September 2021 at 10 a.m. and will be a hybrid meeting streamed on the Assembly website. Okay, members, we're going to move into the closed session now. Thank you.
This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30.